Hello, welcome to the place on the internet. I talk about comic books. Forgive my absence. I have been on tour, and travel lodges in Bogota are not conducive to doing good comic book content. I apologize. Today I wanted to talk about who you make art for. And I've discussed this before, but there's going to be a different angle to it today because there's a new Kojima video game out, and some of the reviews are totally clueless and without understanding of who the work is for or from. In comic books, this happens a great deal. You'll see either an ideological, a political, etc. lens applied to work, and that's what it's measured through. We're not in the most professional field anymore. The comic books had a heyday where you could expect some level of thoughtful criticism. We're not in that space any longer, and unfortunately, you get a lot of voices that are perhaps underqualified. I'm afraid, respectfully to the critics that do their job well, I'm afraid that there's just no upside to submitting your work for criticism. It's very unlikely you are going to learn from it as an artist, and I don't know that it'll necessarily help the reader at this point. So that's a short spiel generally on the state of criticism, but with the Kojima game, let's try to find parallels between what some critics are saying and comic books. The game, which I refuse this new language of calling games experiences. If you're online, you'll see this. It's very bizarre. The game is being accused of a low-key misogyny, that the female characters are not written to the standard of the male characters, and that they tend to be broad and sexualized. And I just would like you, the viewer of this video, but also hopefully if you are a critic of that type, to consider the following. Yeah. What now? Yeah. It's your criticism is in fact not a bug, it's a feature, right? Now, I don't know that for sure because I'm not in Kojima's head, but it is often the case that the things that we write are intentionally flawed. They're intentionally problematic. And it's because that's how art works. It's not to a standard devised by internet people. It's what the artist is trying to express about him or herself. So if I depict all fathers as feeble and cowardly, is the idea that I have failed in some way, or is that the point? So this gets into a dangerous territory of it's not for you, right? Which is the ultimate cop-out in all of media. You can say that about any piece. Anything that you had a negative experience with, somebody can brush it aside and say, it's not for you. Perhaps that's true. It doesn't mean you can't criticize it. I happened to trip into that pile of shit. I didn't enjoy it. Why can't I say that? That's all fair. I just think that it's ludicrous to approach a finished piece of work from somebody that you know is a credible creator and assume that these are flaws. You can say that you would have done it differently. You could say that I don't care for that depiction, perhaps. But the insinuation that the thing is broken because of the inclusion of whatever, in this case, problematic element or however you want to phrase it, is a broken brain thing on your end. It's not the failure of the artist. The artist very likely conveyed whatever it was, which, by the way, is not necessarily indicative of any larger part of their viewpoint. It could very well be a very narrow moment that they were experiencing, which is another thing that critics never consider. If I have a ugly thought, right? What's an ugly thought? An ugly thought is I had a bad experience at a Greek diner, and now I harbor some biases and bigotries about Greek people. That's an ugly thing. But why would I not put it in my art? That's how you work through things. We always pretend that art is therapy, and then when people use it as therapy, we crush them. We treat them like, you never should have showed me this. I have very specific, personal politics, for lack of a better word. There's never been a piece of media that met my standards. Never once. If I was trying to run it through that lens, if I was running it through the colander of my politics, it wouldn't make it through. Does that mean that the work failed? Does that mean that the work is not good? Like, okay, let's take I'm vegan. Let's say I run every piece of media through the filter of, is this vegan enough? Do you see how ludicrous this is? Do you see how silly it is? Because it certainly was not the intention of the creator of that work to meet my political needs. Why would it? And this idea that it's broken or a failure because it didn't do the thing it did not set out to do is absurd. So I just wanted to throw this out there because I'm going to write Image this afternoon and just say, hey, don't put my work out for critics. It doesn't mean you can't review it. Buy a copy, please. And it doesn't mean I'm at war with critics. It just means that I'm very obviously making work for myself and trying very hard to find lanes where I reach a reader and can continue to do work. But this idea that I'm trying to write to specifically satisfy the ideological, philosophical, political, etc., so on, needs of a critic, I'm sorry, that's foolishness. And I don't know why I would subject myself to, frankly, very little in the way of craft criticism, and always this, it's sort of an ugly inference, I guess, that somehow I've let you down. I think if we were to judge these things on craft, that's fine. There is a platonic ideal of what is and is not a good comic book. Like, we can all understand that. But again, this hyper-specific personal lens of, you did wrong by me by my choice to purchase a thing that I could have accurately guessed would not meet my needs. It's just crazy. It's a little bit like sitting on a carrot and saying that it's no type of chair. It just fails as a chair. You chose to sit on a carrot. I mean,